up, you guys? And today I am back with a new album review of Ghost's Prequelle. This album is so utterly good. I have been so hyped for this album. That's probably not helping why I feel so strongly about this album. It was just so good. The hype that I felt towards this album is more than any of the albums I have reviewed so far. And just June is looking so good for album drops, by the way. So excited. Every single song on this album was so good. It was just a masterpiece in my opinion. It had a very big medieval theme over it. The theme is about the Middle Ages. You know, Ghost does their job well. The album started off with Ashes, which is an intro song because it's not even 2 minutes long. It's very short. Kind of has a creepy intro. It holds the theme already of the Middle Ages. And when you listen to it, it will immediately hit you. I'm not going to tell you that way, you go listen to it. But it does pick up and has a haunted house feel to it, which was very nice. Love it. I love the little creepy vibe going on. It's great. And so I gave that intro song a 5 out of 5. And then it went on to Rats, which was one of the singles. It was the first single that they had. And it has a very strong 80s feel to it that I think everyone can kind of enjoy. I haven't met someone who hasn't liked 80s music and just 80s rock. It was going places. And it's paired with a very comedic video, which was nice. I really enjoyed it. It's a good song. It's a strong single. I can see why they picked it to be one of the singles. I think it is one of their stronger songs on that album. And the first time I heard it, I immediately was in love with it. Couldn't stop listening to it. I'm sure you've heard it because it blew up. So I gave Rats a 5 out of 5 as well. And then we move on to Faith. The first verse automatically starts speaking about the lawsuit and how it kind of exposed the band. Because if you didn't know, there's a lawsuit and a bunch of other things going on with the group, and how because of the lawsuit, Ghost was kind of exposed in a way, because Ghost is a band that's known to be hiding behind a mask, and their identities of who they actually are hidden. That's why everyone besides the backup singer is the nameless ghouls, and you know, so this kind of exposed some of the members, and Forge was not too happy about it when he was getting sued. I'm not really going to go into that, but the song does speak on this thing, and I could tell from the first verse that it was talking about the lawsuit. The song has a church feeling in the ending, and I really love that. I thought it gave it kind of like a nice little touch, kind of brought it back, because there's a lot of factors in this album that are very light versus dark imagery. It takes in a lot of aspects of Catholic in Europe, and during the Middle Ages, those people were Catholic, so it kind of brings that all in with the church feel and the sound. And then the light and dark imagery also continues on into See the Light. Oh, and I gave Faith a 4 out of 5, by the way. And I also gave this song a 4 out of 5. It started calmer, and it made the emphasis on the lyrics and how they're set up, because I noticed there's a lot of couplets going on. There's a lot of light and dark imagery in this song. That's why it's called See the Light. And the reason I gave it a 4 out of 5 was because I thought it kind of dragged on a little bit too long just for my tasting towards the end. But I think it is a good song, and you might be able to handle that more than me. I just really don't like repetition too much. So there's like a boundary for me there that it passed. But that's my personal thing. Who knows how other people will feel about it. Then we move on to I'm going to put it on here because I don't know how to say it. We move on to this one, wherever this is. Basically, this word means an unpleasant or unhealthy smell or vapor, basically meaning bad air. this brings out the Middle Ages theme where the Black Plague was going on. Now, the Black Plague, they believe, passed through air. It was airborne, so this is attaching itself in that way and connecting to the theme of the Black Plague and how there's death and we are mortals, because they thought it was bad air that was causing people to catch this disease. This is an instrumental as well, which I thought was great. I love it when groups have an instrumental because you don't need a full lyrical thing going on, because just the instruments themselves can create such a beautiful thing, and this song definitely did that. I especially love the saxophone that was thrown in there towards the end after it started building up. Because of that, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Then we move on to the next single, which was the Dance Macabre, which is a quite upbeat song, and it also kind of gives me an 80s feel. The narrator in the song is seeing death all around him, which attaches to the Middle Ages as well with the Black Plague. The narrator could see death approaching him, which was the Black Death. He wanted to go back in time. He didn't want to die. And that's, if you see the lyrics, it makes sense then. And it's more upbeat because he's trying to steer clear of the death, the depressingness of it all. I think that Dance Macabre was a great single as well. I think Rats was a better single in my opinion, but I think this song also is a good single. Then we go into Pro Memoria, but it translates to For Memory, which again, this also steers it towards a medieval theme, and it emphasizes how we are mortal and our time is limited on this earth. Also has very light and dark imagery coming in again with a hardcore theme, and it has ending with a lot of like church in it, and it mentions the devil, and it's mentioning the devil for the whole imagery going on with it. You have to realize that time's limited, and you should definitely read the lyrics. It would make a lot more sense. I am not the best at explaining. Again, this whole album has so many strong themes and stuff like that. You have to listen to it and read through it. It's definitely worth your time to do so. And the intro of this song was actually in the other videos that were hyping up that album, because it reinvented the Pope imagery that they have going on with the band. That song, a 5 out of 5. And then we move on to Witch Image, which I also gave a 5 out of 5 because it had a lot of light and dark imagery, and it had the medieval theme. The medieval theme really hit me when it started saying that something about they're sitting there and something, they're okay. But then the next line is saying, while the person over here, their flesh is rotting because they're dying from the plague while you're okay. And it related to the plague that way. The light and dark imagery was very strong in there, and I really appreciated the 2 lines that said, what you sell, you cannot unsell, meaning if you sell your soul to Satan by sinning, basically, because it talks a lot about sin and how are we being punished by God type thing. Ties in the Catholic stuff in there, and if you sell your soul to the devil, you can't unsell it. He has it. He's not gonna give it back. You should definitely listen to this song. It's just so good, guys. It's just so good. And then we move on to a song that I cannot pronounce because it's in a different language, aka Swedish. I believe it translates to Hell Window directly. It is an instrumental. It has no lyrics, and it's very beautiful sounding. It's a lot lighter. It kind of does have a creepier edge, although that does not faze me at all. So I don't even pick up on creepiness half the time in music because I just love it so much. It doesn't hit me as creepy. I'm like, wow, this is just really pretty. And everyone else is like, ooh. It does directly translate to Hell Window, and they attach this to the Middle Ages as well. This is attached to the Middle Ages through Hell Window, because women back in the Middle Ages would wear dresses kind of like overcoats, and they had openings on the sides here that were wide, so certain men would peek at them through those gaps, and they related that to sin because you're peeking and that kind of like, oh no, Sin, he's a peeker, blah, 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 whatever. And that related to sin, and that was a window for them to sin through, basically, because it's this small little sight that they can see that they shouldn't be seeing. Because of this, it was an open window towards sin, which is sin goes to hell. You know, sin's related to hell, so that's why it goes window to hell. It's a window to hell, which is why the song is named Hell Window, from what I've read, at least, trying to dissect the lyrics. And as you can see, there's a lot of imagery with light versus dark again, which I love so much. It's so great, and it's so great that they added that in. It's so great because back in those times there was a lot of religious aspect, so I gave that a 5 out of 5. And then it moves on to Life Eternal, which is the last song on the album for the normal album, but there's also 2 bonus tracks on the deluxe album that I will talk about. So Life Eternal does wrap it up, kind of, in a way. It's a nice closure to the album, which is why I gave it a 5 out of 5. And it talks again, it brings up mortality versus immortality, and it's basically saying which life is better to live if you were given the choice for both. You can read it and it's like, is living forever really great, or is it better to perish at some point? And you should read the lyrics. You should definitely listen to it. It makes a lot more sense when you sit down and listen to this whole album, and it just hits you with, oh, it's just so good. And then on the bonus tracks, I gave both the bonus tracks a 4 out of 5. One of the songs is It's a Sin, and it's a cover by the Pet Shop Boys, I believe. It's talking about sin. Obviously, it's talking about sin. It's saying basically everyone, no matter who you are or where you are, you sin. You know, everyone makes mistakes and stuff like that, and does things that are probably considered wrong in a lot of people's eyes, or from religious text or whatever. I thought it was a decent cover. I actually had never heard the song before, so I went back to the Pet Shop Boys and listened to that after listening to the Ghost one, because I was like, this is pretty good, I like this. And then I went over to the other thing, and I do like Ghost's version better, but that's because I just enjoy the twist they put on the sound, where it sounds a little more, has more of an edge on it, I guess. And then we have Avalanche, which was interesting. I think it stuck out a little bit. Immediately noticed he had a deeper voice in there, and it wasn't as, I don't know how to describe it. It was kind of like, not that his voice was gospel-like, but it was smoother, and it was higher, and it was more singy. And this voice is deeper. It sounds more realistic almost. And I thought that was interesting. It stuck out, and I gave that a 4 out of 5. So overall, I would give this album a 5 out of 5. I thought it was a complete masterpiece, the way it tied in certain themes. The sound, I could tell each song apart, which is great. And each song had its own thing to it that I think really made it bloom in a nice way. And I was so excited for this, and I was not disappointed at all. It was great, and I think you guys should definitely check it out. Check out the rest of their stuff as well. You will not be disappointed. They're a great group. You should definitely give them a listen. So that's all I have today. See you guys next week. Bye bye.